It seems everyone, everywhere is thirsty. 夢よどうか覚めないで君は願うけれど夢はいつか覚めるものそれが時の定め風のように全て消え去っても思い出のそう
This is Untitled Goose Game, developed by House and published by Panic Inc. Right, Untitled Goose Game is technically a stealth game, I guess. It has a very, very simple premise. It's a lovely day in the village, and you are a horrible goose. Basically, you spend the game just being a mischievous, horrible goose. Annoying the townspeople. You do have some goals. You have like a to-do list of how to be an annoying goose. So like the first area you'll encounter a gardener and you have various things to do like get the gardener wet or like steal some of his food or put his rake in the lake, which is my favorite one because it rhymes, which more or less means you grab the rake with your beak and drag it all the way out of his garden and into the nearby lake, all without him noticing you, or at least doing it fast enough before he can stop you. There's no real like game over conditions or anything. The townspeople more or less just reset the area if you happen to mess up. The game just keeps going with whatever shenanigans you happen to be doing. The townspeople just kind of put up with you. Some of them shoo you away and things like that, or if you grab an item that they want, they'll take the item off you and just go back to whatever it was they're doing. So it's all good fun, just being an asshole goose. You have a dedicated honk button, which is quite hilarious. You can use it just to generally just be an annoying goose, but you can also use it to like make people drop things they're holding and stuff like that. Like if you honk at them when they can't see you and they're holding something, they'll drop it. And then if you're quick enough, you can pick it up and run away with it. But completing enough of your to-do list will let you move on to new areas. So you can end up in the high street. You can end up in like the back gardens and a couple of other places. Not entirely sure what your goal is as a goose, but you know, well, I mean, I do because I've finished it, but there's a goal in mind anyway. Just being annoying. The main campaign, if you like, of being a horrible goose is kind of short. It's about 2 hours. But there's lots to do afterwards. Like you get an extra to-do list if you like, or you can just continue just being an asshole. It's fun enough to do that. Untitled Goose Game is available on Nintendo Switch, Windows PC, and Mac OS. This is Code Vein, developed by Shift and published by Bandai Namco Entertainment. Code Vein is an action role-playing hack and slash, kind of like, or very like, Dark Souls and a lot of influence from God Eater as well. You take on the role of unnamed and unvoiced anime protagonist, who may be male or female. You wake up with amnesia, of course, after this big cataclysm has taken place. Basically, a lot of people have been turned into revenants, which you might also just call vampires. And there is a great drought of blood. In this game, if people don't get blood or if they succumb to their thirst, they turn into what's called the Lost. So you can think of that as just the enemies of the game. Just monster vampires, I guess. Initially, you're tasked with just finding more blood. Unlike what you might be thinking, you could just find a human being and just chow down. No, the game has these special trees that grow blood called blood beads and blood springs. Whatever, we'll go with it. So your job is to find some of these blood springs, because wouldn't you know it, your character has the unique ability to make the blood springs create more blood beads. Because, you're Superman despite having amnesia. And or Superwoman, you could be female too. Or super whatever you want to be, I don't know, I'm not your dad. Anyway, eventually you get caught up in this grand scheme to overthrow the provisional government, because this crazy scientist wants to create super duper vampires from the old queen vampire, but wouldn't you know it, you're also somewhat associated with the queen vampire and you don't like that, and you have super abilities and you can stop them. Whatever, don't worry about the story too much. It's vampires and it's Dark Souls. Just go with it. Gameplay wise, it's taking a lot from Dark Souls rather than God Eater. God Eater is kind of fairly fast paced, a bit slappy, and a bit loose in combat, whereas Code Vein is a lot more like Dark Souls. It's very tight, it's very slow, or it can be in some cases, depending on who you're fighting, I suppose. Kind of the way it separates itself out. Dark Souls, you more or less kind of pick a build and just go with it. I'm going to be fast guy, or I'm going to be heavy guy, or I'm going to be magic guy, or whatever, and you go with that for the game. In Code Vein, class is very changeable, so basically your character, because of course, has the unique ability to change their blood type or their blood code, because something happened to your original blood code and it's broken or something, so now you can just change it whenever you like. It's convenient for gameplay, I suppose. There's a story reason for it, and to be honest, the story is pretty cool, but whatever, we'll go with it for the gameplay stuff. So basically, you can take on a blood code that's, combat based, but if you don't like the combat stuff, you can just change it and go for a more ranged one, or change that blood code and go for a more magic based one, or dig deeper and you can take a blood code that's, an agile fighter, or a blood code that's a stoic fighter, or a blood code that's an agile magician that's also a gun person. And the way you get these blood codes, you kind of progress through the story. Some of them you find out in the world. Some of them are story-based, some of them are from your companions. You can think of it as feeding on them. You get some of their blood and you incorporate that into your character, so now you can use their blood code. So that kind of changes up your stats. Some blood codes boost your strength, some boost your dexterity, and so on, and that has a knock-on effect to what weapons you can use and what armor you can wear, and so on. But it's easy to change. All you gotta do is go into the menu, change, bam, I'm a completely different character class now. So that's really cool, actually. I like it a lot. I do happen to just be sticking with the same blood code, because I just happen to like the playstyle I found for myself, but it's good that you can just swap. If you're having trouble with an enemy or a boss, you can just, I'll just try this out and maybe this will work. Other change up it has for Dark Souls, other than being very changeable in classes, you have additional abilities, or gifts as the game calls them. So, you can have like special attacks or special buffs or magic or things like that. You can see it in the kind of the bottom right corner there. And they're from your blood code. So whatever blood code you have equipped comes with a set of gifts. If you use the gifts enough, or if you stay in the blood code long enough, they'll eventually become permanent. And you can carry those gifts over into other blood codes. So if you like a blood code, but you like an ability from a different blood code, you can grab that ability and just bring it into the blood code you have now. So you can even get a kind of custom class thing going on. There's a lot of really cool stuff in Code Vein. Story is a bit whatever, and I don't think they really lean into the vampire thing all that much. I think they could do it a bit better, but they do a good enough job. Combat is satisfying. You have a lot of variation you can do with it, and it's very easy to change up that variation whenever you want. It's not as daunting as Dark Souls, because you do have a companion character who can help you out, and they're actually very capable all by themselves. Additionally, if you don't want the leg up from the companion character, you can leave them at home and just do it solo, so the tryhards out there can, get their jollies off from being annihilated in the game if they like. Difficulty is fine. I haven't found it especially punishing, and I haven't found it especially easy. It's decently balanced. I'm having a lot of fun with Code Vein. I'm still playing it. There's a reason this video is coming out late. Well, one, I was on holidays, but two, I just keep playing Code Vein when I come home. I like it a lot. You should check it out if you're a fan of Dark Souls or God Eater, or just action games in general. It's a fun game. Code Vein is available on Windows PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. This is Creature in the Well, developed and published by Flight School Studio. So Creature in the Well is a kind of top-down hack and slash kind of dungeon crawler, but it's got kind of pinball elements to the combat. So rather than attacking anything directly, you have a ball that bounces around the environment and you smack it with your bat or your frying pan or your tennis racket or whatever it is you happen to have equipped. And that will do various different things depending on what room you are in. Sometimes it will just do damage to enemies around the room. Sometimes it will light up different things. Sometimes you'll have to hit things in a certain order or in a certain timing or something like that. But it's basically pinball. So the game broadly is kind of broken up into like about 8 areas, I think it is. You are tasked with powering up this machine that's sitting in the well, and the creature who is hanging out in the shadows and is apparently quite large, is trying to stop you from turning on the machine for whatever reason. Don't know yet. Play the game to find out, I guess. And you power up the machine by powering up different sectors. So you go through basically mini dungeons to get to the end of that dungeon and power up the machine in that area. And you do that by going through different rooms, and the rooms have different puzzles. They can be combat based, they can be timing based, they can be order based, they can be like very puzzly kind of thing. But they more or less revolve around the same thing. Is you do pinball stuff, you collect energy, and you use that energy to open doors. And doors require X amount of energy to open. So, you might need to do a couple of rooms to get enough energy to open a door, or you mightn't even need to do that room at all. You might have enough energy in reserve that you can open that door and just bypass it entirely. It's up to you. You can choose to ignore some rooms if you're finding them difficult, or if you're finding them trivial and you're just not arsed, you can just skip right past it. Other things you can do, there's a kind of main town in the game that you can go out and improve your equipment, but also talk to different people. It's a lot of fun. One thing I am having trouble with is directing the ball with the Switch Joy-Con is kind of difficult. You might find it a bit easier on PC, or you might find it a bit easier with the Pro Controller, I'm not sure, but it's fine for most rooms, most puzzles, but for the ones that are timing based and the timing is strict, getting the ball in the exact spot that you want it to be in is a little tricky. And I can also see the game getting really hard in the later areas. I haven't reached them yet, but I can definitely see it happening. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm enjoying it. If you're interested, Creature in the Well is currently available on Nintendo Switch, which is what all this footage is from, Xbox One, and Windows PC. This is The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, developed by Greezo and published by Nintendo. So this title is a remake of a Game Boy game that came out in 1993 called Link's Awakening and was remastered later on in 98 for the Game Boy Color. So it's been a long time, but this is definitely considered... Link's Awakening is considered a very good Legend of Zelda game, and I can say that this remake of The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening is also a very, very good game. This is a top-down Legend of Zelda game. You play Link, as you always do, washing up on the shore of Koholint Island, and finds himself unable to escape. So he is told that he needs to wake the Windfish in order to get off the island and go back to whatever it was he was doing before that. And you follow the kind of typical classic Legend of Zelda stuff. You roam an open world, you are blocked off because you don't have specific abilities, so you go into the dungeons, and the dungeons unlock new abilities for you, so you can go past those areas, gradually fill out the map, gradually collect all the MacGuffins, and bring them all together and fight the final boss, and away you go. None of that's changed. It's still the same. It's still the same gameplay. It's just really nice looking now. So this kind of plasticine sort of toy-like effect that they have here, and this kind of tilt shift they have, so they're kind of blurring the edges and messing with the depth of field a little bit to make things look bigger than they really are. Obviously a massive departure from 1993 Game Boy graphics. This is a really nice art style. I really like it. It gives the characters a lot of kind of... It gives them the cute factor. Since this is a remake, you can kind of just take, if you liked the 93 version, you're still going to like this because it's practically the same game. There aren't too many differences. Like, the biggest difference is the massive graphical upgrade, basically. Additions to the game, there aren't too many. They have this kind of chamber dungeon, which is a sort of randomized dungeon that you can complete and get kind of rewards for. That's kind of not all that interesting. There's other small things like amiibo functionality and that kind of ties into the chamber dungeon, which is also not all that interesting. But the core game is still there. And the core game is very good. It's classic Legend of Zelda. It's about 12 hours long if you just blast through the campaign. There's obviously lots of secret things to do, lots of shells to find, people to talk to, upgrades to find. You know, you can fill out your arsenal and things like that. I had a lot of fun with it. I've never played the original Link's Awakening, but I can see why people enjoy it so much, because this game was a lot of fun. One thing I did notice about it, though, is that it does have a bit of slowdown every now and then. I can't pinpoint why it does it. It does have a bit of slowdown, but it's not often, and it doesn't really impact the gameplay all that much. So it's great visuals, great music, and Legend of Zelda has always been great gameplay, so this is a good package. If you like the look of it, it is exclusive to the Nintendo Switch.
There's nowhere to move if you get surrounded.
So those were the games I played for September 2019. Lots of really good ones actually this month. It's kind of hard to pick a standout. I kind of have to go with Goose Game because it's just so funny and so dumb, and it's kind of taken the internet by storm. It's just great as a kind of chill out thing, and you can just be a mischievous goose. It's a lot of fun. Link's Awakening is a fantastic retro game in new clothes, basically. Probably a bit short. It'd be the only downside I have for it, but it was a lot of fun, and I finished it now, but I'd be looking to go back to it and do like all the secret side stuff. Code Vein, I'm still playing. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm pretty deep into it now. I'd say I'm like 70% of the way through the game, but I'm enjoying it. And it's a lot more accessible than like The Surge or some of Dark Soul as well, to be honest, because it doesn't get quite as frustrating since you have a companion character to help you along. Creature in the Well, I just haven't had enough time to play it. I've only played like 2 of the mini side dungeons, but I enjoyed what I played of it, but the other 3 games were just more of a draw for me this month. So Creature in the Well is still sitting on my Switch, so hopefully I get a chance to play it every now and then. Looking forward to next month. So next month we have Indivisible, which is a hand-drawn RPG that's been teased for quite some time now. It's by the same developers as Skullgirls, so it's got that art style to it, so I'm really looking forward to playing that. The Bradwell Conspiracy kind of came out of nowhere. I hadn't been paying attention to it at all, but it's by some developers that I quite like, so I'm hoping there'll be something good out of that. I know very little about the game. It's kind of a walking simulator, I think. I don't know. Then we've got The Outer World, or The Outer Worlds, I'm not sure, which is basically Fallout New Vegas, but without the Fallout name, so hopefully that'll turn out well. It's by the same developers as well, so I'm really looking forward to that, actually. Lastly, there's Luigi's Mansion, but it comes out on Halloween, so I may not have enough time to actually get it in the video. There are other games I'm looking to add too. I'm hoping it'll be Luigi's Mansion, but if not, there are other ones that can fill the gap. Anyway, that was this month, September 2019. Let me know what you thought of the games. Did I miss any games? Did I have the wrong opinion of some games, etc.? If there's anything you'd like me to check out for next month or months coming down the line, let me know.
This terrain doesn't favor us. Take this! You've exceeded my expectations.